Welcome to the JavaScript training program. In JavaScript, that is validations and event handling part. First, we will start with the event handling part. What is the meaning of event handling? Event handling is the process of attaching a function with event. So, whenever this event is occur, so a function will execute. First, what is an event? Event means an action, keyboard or mouse action. With keyboard, what the user can do? He can press some key on the keyboard. Any alphabet, numerical value, any type of value can be pressed by the user. Or user may click on some item. For example, he may click on a button, or he may click on a text box, or he may click on some checkbox, or he can do some activities with the mouse, such as clicking, dragging, right clicking, etc. So, whenever the user performs some event, maybe keyboard event or mouse event, we can call a corresponding function, and that function can do some activities, some process based on the page. In the real life applications, suppose there is a login form. In the login form, user will click on login button, then only we have to check the username and password. Checking the username password is a set of code is available. That code needs to be executed when the user clicks on the button. For another example, in the registration form, we will type the username. That username needs to be checked. The username already registered by other user or not, we have to check. When we have to check, as soon as the user type the username, then immediately we have to check. So, type in the value in the keyboard is an event. Whenever an event occurs, we are calling a function, and in that function we can write the code for checking the username whether it is already registered or not. Like this, if you continue, for any click or keyboard typing, we will do opposite reaction. That reaction is given nothing but what? Event handling. So, in simple words, if the user clicks, this function. If the user double click, this function. If the user types some value, this function. This type of attaching the event with a function is called as event handling. In practical, event handling is done with the AddEventListener method. Yesterday we have seen different properties and methods of the element, such as a style, get element by ID, get elements by class name, etc. Just like that, a predefined method is AddEventListener. It is used to attach the event with a function. So, let us see how to work with the AddEventListener practically. The syntax of AddEventListener is first we have to give document dot get element by ID. Here we will give ID of the element. For which element you want to handle the event? That element. That is document dot get element by ID in this case. Dot AddEventListener, AddEventListener, and in this case we are giving some event name, comma function name. Event name followed by function name. So, whenever this particular event is occur, automatically this corresponding function will execute. The AddEventListener attaches the event with a function. So, whenever this event is occur, this function will execute. Let us see this practically. So, in my Visual Studio Code editor window, we are just creating a new file, file menu, new file, and here as usual, first we have to write our HTML program. This program seems same. What is the topic name for us? AddEventListener. Now, in this one, I am trying to create a div tag. Div is one of the important tags. Div represents a box. Suppose you can consider this box is a div. It is a division of the page, part of the page. In this particular div, we have a text like click here. And also we are giving ID for this particular div, div1. Based on this ID, we can identify this particular div. Now, by default, the div look like this. It's like a normal plain text. Internally, this box is a div. Now, for this div, I want to apply some CS style. How do we select the element based on ID? Hash. So, we should write style hash div1. The hash div1 is a selector in CSS. Will select this particular div. For this particular div, we are trying to apply some background color. For example, background color sky blue, width 400 pixels, height 200 pixels. We have given background color, width and height for this particular div. Now, my requirement is when the user clicks on this particular div, we want to call a function. So, how can we do that? In the scripting, document dot get element by ID. What is ID here? Div1 is ID. So, this syntax will select this particular div, and for that we want to apply which function? AddEventListener function. So, we should write AddEventListener. In this function or method, we have to pass two arguments. One is the event name and other one is a function. Event is we have different events available. The best and first example among all these events is click is an example. That means when the user clicks on the div, we are going to call a function. That function name needs to be mentioned here. For example, I mentioned function 1. And the function 1 is not a predefined function, we have to create it. So, this statement is performing event handling. That means it is attaching the event with a function. Which event? Click event. Which function? Function 1. So, overall what happens? When the user clicks on this particular div, automatically it will call the function 1. In this function 1, we can write any code whatever you wish. I am writing click. Now, let us execute this. Also open the console, right click inspect element, go to console. Now, when we click on this particular div, then it is displaying a message click. That means internally what happened when we click? Internally it is called in the function 1. That is the reason it has displayed a click in this console. Now, instead of console.log, I want to write something like I want to change some text in this particular div. Already it has a text like click here. I want to overwrite with my own data. So, document.get element by ID of div1. This will select this particular div. In this div, exactly this actual text you want to select. How do we select the actual text? By writing inner HTML. We can either select the text or we can update the text also. How do we update the text? Is equal to. Equal to says that we are overwriting the text of this particular thing. Now, inner HTML is equal to, we are giving clicked at so and so time. I want to give the system time. What will I try to do? New date dot to local time string. To local time string. So, this will give you system time. When it is clicked at that moment, what is the system time? That time is written by this predefined function called to local time string. Now, if you click on this particular div, it is updating the time. This is about the click event. Like that, we have several events. Next, we are discussing about two other events, that is focus and blur events. The next topics are focus and blur events. The focus event executes whenever the cursor enter into the text box. The blur event executes whenever the cursor go out of the text box. Assume there is a text box and cursor enter into the text box, then automatically it will execute which one? Focus event. Cursor go out of the text box, reach out of the text box, then it will execute blur event. There is a text box. The text box may be email text box, password text box, can be any text box. Cursor has entered into the text box, so then focus event will execute. Cursor go out of the text box, then blur event will execute. These two are the another important events. Cursor enter into the text box, focus event, cursor go out of the text box, blur events will execute. Generally, what kind of requirements we will have in the focus event? For example, I want to display some message to user. Please enter the value correctly. This field cannot be blank. Please enter the email address correctly. This type of messages can be displayed to the user when the focus enter into the text box. That is run with the focus event. On leaving the text box, I want to do some calculation. Suppose the price user has entered. Based on the price, I want to calculate the discount. The discount calculation code needs to be executed on exiting from the text box. So, that is nothing but about blur event. On cursor enter focus event, so we can display some message to user like please enter the value correctly. On cursor exit, blur event will execute so that we can perform the calculations whatever you wish. This is the practical use of the focus and blur. Let us see one program on this focus and blur event here. So, we are taking a new program. And which topic you want to practice? Focus and blur. Okay, focus and blur. Here we are taking a text box. Suppose user has to type email address. Okay, user can see the text box and user has to type his email address in this. For example, we are ready to accept only Gmail address. We don't want to accept other type of email addresses. What you can do? When the cursor enter into the text box, automatically focus event will execute. How to capture that? Here ID is a txt1, event is a focus event, function is function1, means when the cursor enter into the text box, automatically it will execute which function? Function1. So, in this function1, we can just update the message like console.log of focus. Also, we are trying to capture another event called blur event. So, how to handle that blur event? Here same code repeats, but the event name is blur event, function name function2. We have created one function for focus, other function for blur. So, when the cursor has entered into the text box, it has executed when the cursor has entered into the text box, it has executed focus event, and when the cursor go out of the text box, it will execute blur event. See again, focus and blur. You can see the message here, focus, blur, focus, blur. So, cursor entered, cursor exit. In both cases, focus and blur events will execute successfully. Now, in this focus, I want to display some message at the right side of the text box. To display the message, the suitable tag is a span tag. span is used to display some small sentence. For example, we have created span1 and I want to display the text like use Gmail only, and I don't want to display it by default. It should be disappear by default. How to make it disappear by default? Hash span1, that means this particular span1 display none, means invisible by default. This particular span1 will be invisible by default. So span1 is invisible. When it has to be appear on focus event, so what will you do? Get the span1 and we have to overwrite this display property. Already it was display none, and you want to set it as display inline. Display inline says that you want to display it really. Same like this on the blur event, again you want to hide it. Now we can see on cursor entry it is displaying, on cursor exit it is disappear. Cursor entry it is appear, cursor entry, cursor exit it is disappear. So like this we have several events of events like a click event, double click event, focus event, blur event, like this. Based on this event knowledge, we can go for the validations part. Validation also one of the important tasks in JavaScript. Validation means, suppose I am saying that my mobile number 1234, will you accept me? No, because already you know the format of a mobile number, already the mobile number rules already you know. I am saying that my mobile number 1234, you are comparing this 1234 value with the rules. If the value is matching, then you will accept, otherwise not accept. What are the rules about mobile address? Mobile number, totally it should be having 10 digit, starting with 9, 8 or 7, and no spaces, no alphabets allowed in the middle. So these are the rules, set of rules for mobile number. Like that, whenever you want to check the value is correct or not, the process of checking is called as validation. If the validation is not done, the user may write some wrong values also. The wrong values he will accept and store in the database. Later it will cause a lot of problems. So that is 100% developer responsibility to check the values correct or not. So how do we check? Let's try to identify. So here in the validations, we have to write the click event for the submit button. In the click event of the submit button, we have to get the value of the text box, and we have to check the text box value, is it matching with this expected set of rules and regulations or not. If it is matching, then it is treated as valid, otherwise treated as invalid. In case if it is invalid, we should not allow the form to be submitted to server. Even the user click on submit button, the submission should be cancelled. In case all the text box values are valid, then only we want to allow the user to submit the data to server. So this is the requirement of validations. So let's try to see the validations practically. I am creating a separate program. That is validations program. Okay, just I am going to create a set of text boxes. Suppose you want to accept name of the user. We have name and we have a text box, id equal to txt1. So let us save this. And execute this. Now we can see a form is created with just a simple single text box available. Now similarly, I want to create a set of fields. Suppose we have email, amount. So, we have 3 text boxes: name, email and amount. And also we have to place all these fields inside a form, because form is a group of form elements. Inside the form only we have to place all these things. Now, also we have to place a submit button. How to create submit button? Input type equal to submit. What the button name you want to display? Value equal to register. Okay, we have created the validations form, but by default no validations in this. It's just a form. If the user types some particular value and he click on submit button, automatically it will submit to this particular address. Here I am writing some address like HTTP localhost. That means some dummy address we are providing. So, if the user clicks on the submit button without typing any values also, simply it will submit the data to HTTP localhost. So, that is why it is saying unable to connect, because localhost does not exist. It is a dummy address I have given. So, in this case we have to create the validations in this particular text boxes. How do we create? First, create ID for the button and also create ID for the form. We can handle the submit event either through button or through form tag also. If you want to handle the submit event through button, we will say document dot get element by ID of the ID button 1 dot add event listener. Which event? Click event. That means when the user clicks on the button, we are calling the function called function 1. There we can write any code whatever you wish. Validations code. This is one way of doing the validations. So, another type of validations is you will access like form 1 and the event name will be submit. When the user clicks on the submit button, it will raise a submit event for this particular form. So, here also we can write the code for validations. How to write? First we have to get the text box value. How to get the text box value? Some variable username is equal to get element by ID of txt1. This will be equal to the text box. In this text box, whatever the user type the value, that value you want to accept. How to accept the actual value of the text box? You will write dot value. Then we have to check the username. How to check? If username is not equal to empty, not equal to empty means it is not empty, it is having some value. If it is having some value, then we can allow the form to be submitted. That means it is valid value. Otherwise, it is invalid. In case if it is invalid, the form should not be submitted. To stop the submission, we will write event.prevent default. The event.prevent default will say that we want to stop submission. Now, just write this, and now I keep the text box empty. I click on submit button. Now, it is not submitting because the username is empty and it came to else block, and we are saying that event.prevent default. It has stopped the sorry. It has stopped the submission. So, the event.prevent default will always stop the submission. Now, I want to check other values also, like email address, amount also I want to check. So, what will I do? Where email is equal to document dot get element by ID of txt2 dot value. I am selecting the second text box value into the variable email. Then also amount is equal to third text box value. So, we can repeat the same process for remaining text boxes also, like same thing, just repeat 3 times. So, this is for username, this is for email address, this is for amount. So, if the username, email or amount is empty, it will not allow the form to be submitted. See, I am typing the username, but still not submitting because email address is empty. I am typing some email address, I click on button, still it is not submitting because the amount is empty. Okay, now it is correct. Still it is not submitting because the amount is empty. Okay, right. Now, not only empty, we have to check whether it is having correct alphabets or not, email format correct or not, amount is having correct format or not. The formats we have to check. To check the formats, we have to go for regular expressions. The regular expression is a pattern to accept the value. Now, let us try to understand the regular expression in detail. So, what is exactly the regular expression? The regular expression is a pattern for accepting the value. In real world, you will have a requirement like I want to accept only alphabets, only numerical value, only email address value, only mobile number, only bank account number. So, whenever you have a specific format to accept, okay, these many characters, at least one alphabet should be there or no alphabet should be there, only alphabet should be accepted, only digit should be accepted. All these kind of cases are called different regular expressions. With the help of regular expression, we can accept the value that is having a particular format instead of accepting any type of value. So, for most of the cases, mobile, email address, phone number. So, for all these things, we have different regular expressions. So, let us understand how to apply this regular expression practically for these text boxes. So, let us check the program. I will show some of the samples regular expression. So, these are some of the sample regular expressions I provided. So, this is for digits only, this is for accepting alphabets only, this is for mobile number, this is for email address, this is for username, this is for password. These are frequently required regular expression. In our example, which is required really for us, username. Username means only alphabets allowed. So, this one is suitable for us. But how to apply it really for this? So, one more condition is required. If we have to keep 2 slashes, within the 2 slashes we have to copy paste the regular expression whatever you provided there. This one we have just mentioned here. So, then we have to call test function, test of username equal to true. So, what exactly happened? The test function will check whether this username value is matching with this regular expression or not. If it is matching, then it will return true, otherwise false. So, if it is matching, we can say it is a true, otherwise false. Okay. Same way, we can provide regular expression for remaining. For email address, what is the regular expression? I am writing the regular expression for this one. So, this is the regular expression for email address. Next, also I am providing regular expression for amount. Amount means only digits allowed. For digits only this one. So, this is the amount we have to check, this is email we want to check. Now, check, I am just typing alphabets only here. So, different values I am just typing, it is not accepting, because name means only alphabets allowed, email address can have alphabets and digits, but it should be having proper email address format like @ symbol should be there, space not allowed, ending with gmail.com or yahoo.com. amount should be digits, all the rules it will check, then only the form will be submitted to server. Okay. But still I want to display message to user. To display the messages, we require the span tag. To display error messages, we require the span tag. So here we have span id equal to span1. The span is like a name cannot be blank and must have alphabets only. So this is the message I am providing. I want to display this message in red color. So what will I try to do? So display none plus color equal to red. Display none says that I don't want to display the span by default. On demand only it has to be displayed. Means when we click on submit button, that too if the value is invalid, then only it should be appear, not by default. So by default it should be hidden format, that's why display none. And if appear also it should be in which color? Red color. So that is color equal to red. Also we have span 2 and span 3. These also same thing, display none and color red. Span 2 is for email address. What is the message for email? Email cannot be blank and should be in proper format. Span 3 is amount cannot be blank and must have numbers only. But still no spans are displayed by default. We have to display them when we click on the button, that too when the value is invalid. So if the user click on the button, it will come to function 1. In this function 1, in case if it is valid, the span 1 should be invisible. So span 1 should be display none, style dot display none means it should be invisible. In case if it is valid, in case if it is invalid, I want to display it. So I want to hide the message if it is valid. I want to show the message in case if it is invalid. Now check this, I click on the button, now you can see the message appear there. Same like this, let's apply for remaining. In case if it is valid, I want to hide the message. I want to hide the message. In case if it is invalid, then it has to be displayed. Okay, anyone should be happen. Okay, right. Now we can say like this. So name, email, amount like this. So if you type alphabets and click on button, that message disappear. If you type proper email address, then click on button, again the message disappear. If you enter the name number correctly and click on the button, that message also disappear. At the same time, it will submit the data to server. So this part is our validations part we have completed. Now let us do the another topic, that is how to perform calculations in form. For example, we have entered price, it has to calculate and display the discount. We have entered some product price and number of items, number of pieces. It has to multiply and display the result to me. Like this, based on the inputs, it has to do some process and it has to provide me the result in the form. So when it has to do the calculation on entering the value in the text box. As soon as we type the value in the text box, immediately it has to provide the response to me, like it has to do the calculation and display the result to me. So this type of process is called as calculations in forms. So let us see how to perform calculations in forms. Now check it. Let's have a requirement such that, so if you just enter the amount, tax it has to display automatically. So just below the amount, we have a tax. Tax is displayed in a span. Span ID equal to span 4. Okay, now tax by default we have displayed 0.00. When we enter the amount, then only the tax should be displayed. So as soon as we type some value in the text box, then only it has to be done. So when you type any key on the keyboard in this amount text box, what event will it execute? Key up event. So here we have to handle the key up event for this text box. So let's write the code. Get element by ID. Which ID? txt3 add event listener. What event? Key up event. Whenever the user press any key on the keyboard, it will execute the key up event. There we are calling the function 2. In this function 2, I want to get the value of the text box. Which text box? The txt3 value I want to get. Okay, we got the value of the text box. But the problem is the value by default is string data type. We have to convert this value into numerical data type by using the predefined function number. The number function will convert the string value into numerical format. After converting, we can store the value in a variable called amount. Now we have retrieved the amount value finally from the text box. Now we have to do calculation. Suppose tax equal to, assume the tax is at 10%. So amount is equal to amount into 10 by 100. Tax we have calculated in the memory. But where it should be appear? In the span number 4. So what will I try to do? In the span, inner HTML is equal to tax. So we are displaying the tax in the span 4. Now we can check there. Now you can check there. Just we have entered the amount like 10,000. Automatically you can see the corresponding tax. Any amount that you type there, it is displaying the 10% of that. So like this we can perform the automatic calculations. Okay. Suppose the minimum tax is 1,000. Okay. If the tax is less than 1,000, it has to show me in red color. So what will I do? For example, I am just typing 5,000. Actually 5,000 means tax is 500 only. But if the tax is less than 1,000, it has to show me the red color, which indicates something wrong. Otherwise it has to display green color. So what will I do? You will check the value. If the tax is less than 1,000, then we have to apply which color? For the span 4, we have to apply which color? Style.color equal to red color. We are applying red color for the span 4 in case if the tax is less than 1,000. In case if it is greater than 1,000, greater than or equal to 1,000 also, I will display in green color. So either of these happens, either red or green, any one will be happen. If the tax is less than 1,000, red, otherwise green. Now check this. We are entering 900. 9,000 is the actual amount, but the tax is 900. So it is less than 1,000. That's why it is displaying red color. But if you type 90,000, then the tax is 9,000, and it is greater than 1,000. So it is displaying green color. Like this, we can provide the dynamic outputs to the user. So overall, the conclusion for the JavaScript is, dynamically based on the inputs of the user, I want to provide output to the user. I want to receive the input from the user. I want to provide output to user. So this type of interaction is done by which one? JavaScript. Many people unfortunately think that JavaScript is only meant for validation. Yes, we can perform validations in JavaScript, but that is not only the task of JavaScript. JavaScript is meant for providing input and output, reading input from the user, providing output to user. This input output IO operations in the web pages or a dynamic interactive nature of the user is done by JavaScript. It is a programming language, not only meant for validations. So, let us improve this form with some more additional things. Okay, let us check here. So, here I just want to provide age field. I want to check age field. So, age, that is okay, that is appear here. Okay, the age value should be between 18 to 70. Minimum age allowed is 18, maximum 70 I want to allow. So, text box ID txt4, span number 5, age cannot be blank and must be between 18 and 70. Okay, that is a message what we have provided there. Span 4 also should be displayed in red color, by default should be invisible. Span 5. Okay, now we have created that age and we are entering the age like this. Is it a valid age for the person? No. So, we have to check it. Within the validations, we will enhance this. We will just add one more thing like if age amount is empty, is not equal to empty, and also if age is greater than or equal to 18 and less than or equal to 70, then span 5 should be invisible, otherwise the span 5 should be visible. So, how do you treat it as a valid? It should not be empty. At the same time, it should be between 18 to 70. Then only we have to display the message. Otherwise, we have to hide the message. Okay. Age value we have to get here. So, what you can try to say, where age is equal to document dot get element by ID of txt 4. Okay, now we can check. I am just entering the age large value, it is showing error. Small value, again error. Combination of alphabets and digits, again error. But I am typing pure correct value, suppose 25. Then it is the message disappear. That means it is valid. Okay, so overall we have understood the validations part in this program, but the problem is this validations is, since it is written in this particular form, this code whatever written is applicable is limited to only the same program. Since the program is written, since the JavaScript program is written in the file, it is recommended, it is limited to the same file. I want to access the same JavaScript code in multiple files. Then what will you do? You will just cut this particular code and you will paste inside the separate file. You can just cut this and you can paste in a separate file. That file name can be anything. I am just saving like my validations.js. File extension should be .js because it is containing only JavaScript code. Now we can notice there is no HTML, head, body, all that code, only pure JavaScript code directly we have written. And this particular JS file can be imported into this one. How do we import? src equal to that particular code. That is my validations.js. So, we have imported the JavaScript file into this particular program. So, all this code whatever written there, that has been loaded here. Now, you can finally check. So, same calculations are happening and the same age validation is done. Okay. So, in this way we have understood the JavaScript validations part. So, we have completed the DOM manipulations and validations today, and in the next class, so tomorrow onwards we will see the topic of jQuery. jQuery is JavaScript library. We will see jQuery from the tomorrow onwards. Thank you.